Michelle Rivera with the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs to the City of Minneapolis, welcoming you to the Welcoming Week edition of the Twin Cities Immigration Forum for September 2024. Thank you so much for being here today, and I will turn the mic over to my counterpart in St. Paul to introduce himself briefly.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Edmundo Leholm, an Assistant City Attorney with the City of St. Paul, and I run and manage the Immigrant Refugee Program for the city.
Wonderful. So this meeting is a monthly meeting co-hosted by the City of Minneapolis, Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, and the City of St. Paul Immigrant and Refugee Program to address topics of interest, of concern to immigrant and refugee and new American residents, as well as individuals and organizations that serve our immigrant, refugee, and new American community. This monthly series originated in 2021 as a way to unpack federal immigration policies, programs, and actions, and has expanded beyond immigration updates to include discussions on a variety of topics touching Minnesota's immigrant, refugee, and new American community. We're so thrilled that you all are here with us today. We'll do a quick walkthrough of today's agenda. As I said at the outset, this is the Welcoming Week edition of the Twin Cities Immigration Forum. We're celebrating many occasions this month, including Welcoming Week, Citizenship Day, Constitution Day, and Latino, Latinx, Latinx Heritage Month. We have a number of speakers, including Brianna Boberg from Welcoming America, Betsy Fisher from Talent Beyond Boundaries. We'll have a speaker who is a fellow City of Minneapolis employee, Farhia Budul, talking about her Bush Fellowship experience. We have additional City of Minneapolis employees talking about Latino, Latinx Heritage Month. There'll be some immigration updates and news, including public interest parole, keeping families together updates from Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, and your updates as well. So the agenda is in the chat. We'll plug it back in if anybody doesn't see the agenda. And with that, I'll turn it over to Edmundo.
Thanks, Michelle. As Michelle mentioned, this month is our Welcoming Week edition of our forum. For those of you who may not know about Welcoming Week is an annual campaign that celebrates the working communities to become welcoming places for all, including immigrants and refugees. Welcoming Week was launched in 2012 by Welcoming America and its members, and it's an opportunity for individuals and organizations to showcase their values through events and initiatives that foster connection and collaboration between new arrivals and the welcoming community. This is an opportunity for us to showcase what a strong community we are. More people than ever are on the move, displaced by climate and conflict, and seeking opportunity and mobility because of violence and instability in their home countries. As this migration reshapes communities, many places are unprepared and underinvested in the work needed to create welcoming infrastructure. I feel so fortunate and grateful to all of you because we are a community that is prepared and invested in the work to create welcoming infrastructure. These past few years, we've experienced the effects of this increased global migration. I'm extremely proud of our community's response and the incredible job you've all done to welcome newcomers. The Twin Cities benefit when everyone who lives in our cities can fully participate in the cultural, social, and economic life of the cities. We in the Twin Cities recognize that foreign-born populations have a significant record of contributing to the economic vitality and the social and cultural richness of the cities. These contributions foster and encourage the continuation and support of our city's welcoming traditions. I am grateful for the work that you have all done to make it possible for our newcomers to feel welcomed and for making them feel they are truly belonging in our community. Welcoming Week is an opportunity for communities to celebrate the work they've done to create an environment where everyone can truly thrive. In many ways, the initiative is an opportunity for communities to cultivate the awareness and energy that's needed to sustain year-long welcoming efforts. I hope that this meeting is the first step of the week to cultivate the awareness and energy that will sustain and propel us to the most welcoming year ever. Thank you, everybody. I'll turn it back to Michelle.
Thank you so much, Edmundo. And thank you, everyone who is here today. We feel a lot of gratitude, as is reflected in Edmundo's remarks, for all of you in creating a Minneapolis, a St. Paul, a state of Minnesota where all are able to experience a sense of belonging, and where people are able to achieve lives of safety, of dignity, and of opportunity. So thank you all very much. There are a lot of Welcoming Week activities that are taking place, have taken place, that are planned, and we'll talk a bit about those. But first, we want to invite Brianna Broberg from Welcoming America to share a few words about Welcoming Week and also about Welcoming America. So Brianna, please, mic is yours.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. Excited to be back to chat with everybody about Welcoming Week. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I brought just a couple of slides because I think it's more interesting to have something to look at than just me. Are you able to see a slideshow?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm bad with Microsoft Teams because my office only uses Zoom, so I'm never quite sure what's going on. So apologies if there are any unexpected technical difficulties, but we'll see what we see here. So as Michelle mentioned, my name is Brianna Broberg. I work at Welcoming America, where I am the Midwest Regional Manager. That means that I get to work with folks here in Minnesota, where I'm based. I live in St. Paul currently. And I also get to work with folks from across the upper Midwest, across 11 states, so including all of our neighbors and a few expanding out a little ways from there, which I feel really fortunate to get to do. Our members are local governments, so city and county level, as well as local nonprofit organizations of a variety of different kinds. Some of those are specifically immigrant and refugee serving organizations. Others take different shapes. We have chambers of commerce, libraries, schools, community foundations, economic development groups. So a variety of different types of members. Welcoming America itself is a national nonprofit organization that leads a movement of inclusive communities becoming more prosperous by ensuring that everyone belongs and can thrive in their community. At Welcoming America, we really believe that all people, including immigrants, are valued contributors who are vital to the success of our communities and our shared future. And Welcoming Week is one part of the way that we try to help support communities in moving that mission and those values forward. Welcoming Week, as Edmundo mentioned, is Welcoming America's annual celebration. It brings together neighbors of all backgrounds, US-born, immigrant, and a variety of different identities to build strong connections and to affirm the importance of welcoming and inclusive places for the benefit of all. It takes place every year in September. And this year, it starts officially tomorrow, the 13th, going through September 22nd. But really, there's a lot of flexibility with that. There are folks that have started celebrating Welcoming Week earlier this month, some who will be celebrating after the 22nd, and it's all great. We're just excited to see folks participate. The slides that I have here today have a couple of different QR codes, and so you're welcome to scan those as you'd like. But I'm also going to share these slides with Michelle and Edmundo to send out to everyone after in their follow-up email. So if you don't hear something that I say or you want to follow up on some of the resources, you'll have access to all of those things. So Welcoming Week originally started in 2012, and it was led by a really small handful of Welcoming America members who felt like, they felt like they wanted an opportunity to really celebrate the idea of welcoming and belonging. And they wanted to uplift that and let people know that it was something that they were interested in. It was work that was happening in their communities. They wanted to make it known. And over the past 12 years, it's really grown to become a truly global celebration. So I noted here a few different things that we consider Welcoming Week to be. So first, that global narrative and movement. I know that a lot of times the messaging that we hear on the national and global scale about immigrants and about immigration are not always the most positive messages, the most positive narrative. But when we hear those messages, sometimes it makes us feel like this welcoming work that we're kind of doing it alone. We're in a silo. And so it's exciting to know during Welcoming Week, we can see that that's not the case, that welcoming really is popular and it really is possible in a lot of different places. And it's exciting to be a part of that. But in addition to being this global movement that it's grown into, it started and will always remain also a wonderful opportunity for a local spotlight to really highlight things that are happening in your community, organizations and resources that exist that promote welcoming and belonging. and also provides an opportunity to bring together folks from all different sectors for one common purpose, for one common reason. It can also provide a really great opportunity to build and expand partnerships, depending on the way that communities choose to engage in Welcoming Week. Sometimes it might be, for instance, a nonprofit organization that is serving immigrants and refugees is looking for a partner, an additional partner in housing. And so they invite them to attend the Welcoming Week event that they are planning, or even better, they propose creating an event together. And that can help to open lines of communication. It can really help to build up future partnership opportunities over time. And then, the really biggest idea behind Welcoming Week and a lot of the welcoming work that Welcoming America does is supporting communities in bridge building efforts. So, maybe you live in a neighborhood or in a community where there are US born and immigrant residents, but they don't always have as many opportunities to interact on a substantive level as you might like. You see each other at the grocery store, or your kids go to the same school, but you don't always have the opportunity to connect on a deeper level. And Welcoming Week can provide an opportunity to begin to make space for that. There are a lot of different ways that folks choose to participate in Welcoming Week. I know that some of you all are planning Welcoming Week events or are planning to attend Welcoming Week events. So I'm probably telling you some things that you already know, but just to uplift some different ways that folks have participated in the past. Sidewalk chalking is always a popular one. It's really fun if you can do a really great, big, splashy event. That's a cool thing to do. So, sometimes people think like, we need to make a mural, we need to paint the side of a building, and it has to be a great big thing. And that's really cool if you can make it happen, but it involves a lot of time, permits, there's a lot of things that you need to do, and it can be a heavier lift than maybe you're able to take on for Welcoming Week. But sidewalk chalking, it's usually a lighter lift, but it's still something that happens publicly. It allows people the opportunity to hear about it in advance and choose to come and participate, but also just be walking by and see it and decide to check it out and find out what's going on. What's Welcoming Week? What are you all doing? Cultural festivals are another really fun and exciting thing that oftentimes happen over Welcoming Week. You can do things like, there's an example here about a love letter to your community. Folks had an opportunity to write what it was that they loved about living in the place that they call home. And then those were shared with permission during a community gathering that took place during Welcoming Week. So people could sort of get a sense of what makes other people want to live here. Why do they feel welcome, and what can I do to contribute to that? And then there's also a fun example here that I like to share of an event that I got to attend last year. There was a food co-op that decided that they wanted to participate in Welcoming Week. They're not a member. You don't have to be a member of Welcoming America in order to participate. They just thought it would be a fun thing to do. And so they had a local artist sort of paint the outline of a sketch. And then they brought some different colors of paint and some paintbrushes to their local farmers market that they participated in every week. And everybody who was there at the farmers market had the opportunity to contribute to this mural together. I don't know if you can read it there, but it says "Rooted in Community." It's a fun little vegetable pun. And then everybody got the opportunity to contribute if they wanted to. And when it was done, then they hung it up in the food co-op, and it's still there today. So it's a reminder of the welcoming work that's happening and opportunities for folks to be able to engage with one another in a way that doesn't require a lot of time or money or effort, but can really result in something lasting. A couple last things that I'll share. We do a different theme every year for Welcoming Week. And this year, Welcoming Week is really a call to come together as individuals and as groups to celebrate our strengths and our differences, and to recognize that we're at our best when we're all in. And so through local events and special initiatives, folks who are participating in Welcoming Week this year can share how their community is modeling this "we're all in" approach. So some folks are taking that and extending it into, we're all in for sharing our cultures, or we're all in for healthy communities, we're all in for the next generation. You don't have to participate in the theme, but it can be kind of fun. And if you do Welcoming Week year to year, kind of nice to change things up every once in a while. The last thing I'll share are just some Welcoming resources. If you're getting started or would like some added support, some things that can help add capacity as you're putting events together. We have our website, which is just welcomingweek.org. It's available in multiple different translations, and you can sign up for the Welcoming Week newsletter there that also comes in a variety of translations. There is a toolkit that includes a lot of things, including communications tools, logos, and other visual assets, an event planning guide, and some really great case studies of different events that have been hosted by different entities and coalitions to help give some inspiration. And then there's also the Welcoming Week event map, where we encourage folks to add their events to the map so that folks know that these events are happening. And also so you can take a look and see, maybe you don't have the opportunity or the bandwidth to plan an event this year, but you still want to attend. You can see what's happening near you, and you can also get some inspiration for future participation. So I'll close there. I'll just say, the idea behind Welcoming Week is really just that welcoming and inclusion and belonging for immigrants and for all residents is really vital to our communities. And Welcoming Week can just be a really great way to create and maintain truly welcoming communities. It's not just about this 1 week a year. It's about using this as an opportunity to start or continue to deepen and strengthen the welcoming work that happens in communities all year round. As I said, I'll share these slides with Michelle and Edmundo so that they can share out with folks. So if you have any questions or want to do any follow-up, my contact info is there, and always happy to talk to folks anytime. And with that, I will stop. Thank you so much again for the invitation.
Thank you, Brianna. I think Michelle might have frozen up on us, so we'll have to see if she can come back. Brianna, thank you so much, and always appreciate Welcoming America and the great work that they do, and appreciate you and all the great work you've been doing for people in the Dakotas and Minnesota and the Midwest. So thank you. Any questions for Brianna before we switch gears here? If no questions, thank you, Brianna, and you're always welcome on the Twin Cities Forum, as you know, and looking forward to having you back again soon. Next, we'll turn to Betsy Fisher from Talent Beyond Borders. Betsy is here to talk a little bit about Welcoming Core at work. We've had presenters on Welcoming Core the last few months and have been focusing on Welcoming Core, but this is another aspect of Welcoming Core at work that we thought folks would be really interested in. Betsy, welcome.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good. And let me also try to share a screen here.
Sure.
Great. Can you see this?
Yes, we can. Welcoming Core at work.
All right. Well, thanks Edmundo and Michelle for having me. It's great to be here. I'm Betsy Fisher. I'm based in Minneapolis, but I work for a national nonprofit, an international nonprofit called Talent Beyond Boundaries. And our mission is expanding displaced people's access to long-term safety by connecting them with living wage employment opportunities. And one program that we're working on, and the primary thing that we're working on in the US, is Welcome Core at work. As Edmundo said, many of you will be familiar with Welcome Core and are probably supporting efforts for Welcome Core in the Twin Cities. Minnesota's been the biggest state participating in Welcome Core, which is really exciting, and we know that we'll have similar interest in Welcome Core at work. Welcome Core at Work was announced just earlier this year, and it's an innovative program that connects refugees who are outside the United States with employers in the US who need their skills. And it's operated by us at TBB in conjunction with the International Rescue Committee and the Department of State. So the very simple idea is that there are millions of refugees outside the US without access to long-term safety and without access to economic opportunity. And then, as we know in the US, there's significant workforce shortages and employers looking for a talented workforce. And we simply connect them. But how does it work, you might ask? So at our team, employers contact us and identify specific roles that they're interested in filling. We go back to a matching platform that we have where 110,000 people have expressed their interest in participating in a program as candidates, as employees. And we identify people who meet the employer's requirements and send a short list to the employer. Then the employer undergoes their interview process. It might need to look a little different because these are individuals who are outside the US, but we can facilitate Zoom interviews and sometimes skills assessments as well. If there's a job match, if there's a job offer and the candidate accepts, the individual is referred to the resettlement process. That means that if this individual is approved, they're not coming in on a temporary H-2A. They're not coming in, tied to their employer or subject to a lottery. They're entering as a refugee with long-term access to residency and over the long-term citizenship and access to permanent employment authorization. In addition, we're also identifying members of the community who can serve as sponsors. So they're doing everything that standard Welcome Corps sponsors are doing, from picking someone up at the airport to helping them figure out how to file their taxes the first time. And the Welcome Corps at Work team at TBB and IRC, we're supporting the employer, the refugee who's relocating, and the sponsors for a 12-month period. So we're hoping that maybe some of you are connected to workforce development folks or are familiar with businesses that might be looking to hire. And so just a little bit more about the employer side, that this opportunity is most appropriate for employers who provide living wage jobs in the community where they're based. So, that's a different rate in Minneapolis than in St. Cloud or Manhattan, and who can offer a career pathway. Entry-level roles are fine, but we're really looking for employers who can invest and support growth for candidates to get back to the professional experience that they've already had. And employers who are willing to be empathetic and understanding and to invest in people, understanding that that they've maybe had some challenging life experiences. In addition, we're looking for employers who are willing to consider supporting the sponsor group with the costs of fundraising. It's not a mandatory requirement, but something that we're encouraging employers to consider, because in part it can speed up the process a lot. And one thing that is really important to know is, because this program operates through the refugee program, there are delays. There's no visa application costs. No one has to pay a lawyer. So there's a lot of advantages over other employment-based visas. There's no lotteries. It's a permanent program, so a lot of advantages, but there are uncertain and sometimes lengthy processing times. We're currently estimating around 12 months. So this opportunity is also most appropriate for employers who have some flexibility, or who have ongoing availability for new hires. So that's the very broad overview. If folks have questions about the sponsorship side of things or anything else, I'm also happy to talk to that side, but really eager to hear any questions you might have. I'll drop some contact information in the chat as well, but I will pause there for any questions.
Betsy,
Hi,
thank you so
Betsy.
much. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Edmundo.
Go ahead, Michaela.
It's Michaela. Great to see you, Betsy. I just had a question. You might have said this at the beginning. I'm sorry if I missed it, but so is this process for people already in the refugee process, or first their first contact with the program would be through an employer?
People do not have to be already in the resettlement process. They might be, but if they're already at a late stage, then we wouldn't necessarily move them over. This is a way for people to be identified by the employer, and they're part of our role on the Welcome Corps at Work team at TBB and IRC is to verify that that person is eligible as a refugee, that they meet the requirements for Welcome Corps, and to do, we can't guarantee that people will be approved, but we do some assessments to hope that they are likely to be approved by USCIS. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Betsy. That was wonderful presentation. I'm really excited about this, because I think this creates a lot of opportunities for more welcoming and employers to really get involved in resettlement work, and it's a unique opportunity to bring some very talented people to the United States. Any other questions for Betsy?
This is Matt from the Minnesota Council of Churches. I'm just curious, have you had any people arrive to this program yet?
Sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing.
Oh,
Matt,
can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Maybe I can repeat the question.
Sure. Thank
Matt, sure, Matt. Matt is asking if you've had
Very
anybody.
slow.
I'm sorry, Matt is asking, has the program had anyone arrive in the United States yet?
We have not. We have one individual who we're expecting to arrive anytime, certainly before the end of the year, which will be really exciting. So the program just launched in April. We have hiring commitments of over 200 roles. So employers who've committed that they want to hire over 200 roles. We have 40 job offers, and almost all of those have come just in the last 6 weeks. So things are really taking off. So my encouragement to employers would be to get on board while there's capacity. But yeah, I think exciting things and happy photos coming your way soon.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Betsy. We really appreciate you being on, and you're always welcome back and give us an update on what's going on, and very excited about this program. All right.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, Edmundo.
Sure. Good to see you. Okay. I think, unfortunately, Michelle is still kind of frozen out of the meeting, but I know that we were going to go also transition a little bit to Hispanic Heritage Month. And I think Monica Romero from the city of Minneapolis and others are here to talk a little bit about some of the events that are going on in the city of Minneapolis. Monica, welcome.
Muchas gracias. Buenas
De nada.
tardes a todos.
De nada.
I am Monica Romero. I work for the city of Minneapolis in the CPED department, Community Planning and Economic Development, and I am the smaller unit called Business Development. But I am here representing the city of Minneapolis Latino ERG called Somos. Somos is planning a series of events to celebrate what the city of Minneapolis calls Latino Heritage Month. And we welcome Latino, Latinx, Latinat. For me to share this with you is mostly a way of empowering you and you transfer this information to your coworkers. And if your organizations don't have ERGs, perhaps being sorry for the background noise, perhaps being a voice to start ERGs. Having ERGs at your organization is a way to get together with groups that share similar cultures, but also groups or individuals that want to be part of a culture they want to learn more about. And we put together events so we get a better understanding of each other, our cultural background, interests, tastes, colors, music, etc. So very quickly for the Latino Heritage Month, and most of these events are internal, but we are also promoting or letting people know of events that are happening in the city of Minneapolis that are also celebrating Latino Heritage Month, like Taco Tour this weekend, this Saturday, happening at Lake Street. We're going to have a kickoff event, going to a Latino restaurant to start the celebration. We're going to offer a session called Buen Provecho, and that will be a online session in which any staff of the city of Minneapolis can come and practice their Espanol. If they know a little bit of Espanol, a little bit or a lot bit of Spanish, and they'd like to practice, they can do it with us on a very non-judgmental environment, very safe, but also even safe to be vulnerable, to be corrected, or to just move on with any mistakes or any topics, including that they want to share. We are also going to read a resolution about Latino Heritage Month. We last year we focused on our indigenous groups through the whole Latin American countries. including Mexico, Central America, Caribbean, South America, etc. And we also included native United States natives and even people from España. We are going to focus this time in Latinos that for the first time have been a positive influence in the United States. First timers, for example, the Judge Sotomayor. Mm. And then we're going to highlight in our resolution 12 more Latinos that have had a positive influence in the nation. We're going to have a cooking class, and this year we're going to have a Mexicano ceviche versus Colombiano ceviche. So we make sure that we have a mixed, and we try to name all Latino countries in our events. We are going to show a film that I will, when I have the chance, I will copy and paste the link to that short film, 22 minutes film that I would recommend everybody to watch it. It's called Translators. This was a film made by US Bank. And I happened to learn about this video or film last week at a conference from Latino LeaderCon conference. And translator is what it is, translators, but our translators are our kids. And so it's powerful, and it's a strong message to change and to not put the burden on our kids to be the translators. So we're going to have that documentary, and then we will have a moderated conversation about that film. We are also going to have a classes de español, Spanish 101 class in a more organized manner. We're going to have a salsa tasting competition. People are bringing hot salsas, freestyle salsas, and we will have judges. We'll have small prizes. And after we taste salsa, we're going to dance salsa for the last 30 minutes. And these are just ideas for you to do the same with your groups. So we're going to decorate Sugar Skull, and we're going to talk about the Day of the Death as a cultural celebration in many Latino countries. And then the last event that we're going to have is family members from mixed immigration status households talking about their experiences being in mixed status households. And amigos, this is for everybody in the city of Minneapolis to attend, not only Latinos. And so the ERG, the Latino ERG, organizing these events is to really make an impact of who we are, what we do, and how we want to be recognized and acknowledged. Gracias por el tiempo. Thank you for your time.
Monica, thank you so much for joining us and for the update. It sounds like a wonderful employee resource network group and very active. And I only wish that some of those events were open to to others, because that sounds like some wonderful events. So thank you. Any questions for Monica?
You have my contact information on the chat. I already entered it. So call me, email me if you have any question about ERG. But if you're an entrepreneur or no entrepreneurs, we at the City of Minneapolis, and my unit especially, we process business loans. And we're super happy to have new immigrants come in and apply for loans.
Great.
Gracias.
Thank you, Monica. I see that Ruby Lee put a note in the comments about Clues Latino Fiesta this Saturday. Ruby, do you want to say something very quickly about that?
Sure. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it. It just made me think about we have this big event this Saturday, September 14th from 11:30 to 4:30 at Clues Building in St. Paul. We're going to close the entire street on 7th Street, and we expect more than 5,000 people as we do an annual event. We will have lots of live entertainment. Everything is free to the public in terms of the entertainment, but we'll have Latino food. Or 1,300 backpacks for children and families. No need to register. Just come join us. The transportation is available through this, Twin Cities Transportation, free of charge. Check our website or our Facebook page at clues.org, O-R-G. So I hope that you all can join us, and it will be a wonderful event like every year. So all are welcome.
Great. Thank you, Ruby.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for
Mondo.
sharing. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. All right. Well, it looks like Michelle is having technical difficulties and is not able to rejoin us yet. But as soon as she is, I'll let everybody know. And she says she's very sorry. It sounds like she froze up in the location she was at, and Teams is not letting her back into the meeting. All right, why don't we transition then to back on the agenda to the Bush Fellowship experience. I know we wanted to kind of highlight the Bush Fellowship experience as the application process is opening up very soon. And with us is today is Bush Fellow Farhia Banul, who is also the East African Community Specialist for Minneapolis. Farhia, nice to see you.
Yes, and Mundo, nice to see you too. Hello, everyone. I hope your week is going great. I feel bad for Michelle.
Yeah.
I want her to be
I know she,
part of this.
I know she wanted to be on, and I think she can hear us. So she's here with us, at least listening. So she may not be
Okay.
able. As soon as she's able to speak, I'm sure she will.
All right, great. Do you all see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. So I am all right. Well, hello, everyone. I am so grateful to be back and to just share a little bit of my experience, strength, and hope, and just kind of share my fellowship experience with you all. So about me, I am a woman in long-term recovery, and what that means is that I get to embrace life on life's terms, and recovery extends beyond just staying sober, but it also involves navigating life's challenges and success with such a resilience, acceptance, and personal growth. This really helps me to share a little bit about who I am and my story of reducing stigma and shame. But it really requires facing difficulties and achievements without relying on, mood and altering substances, while continually striving for my own self-improvement and positively impacting those around me. So for my Bush Fellowship, I went ahead and applied. And if anybody have ever told you to apply, they see something in you. So go ahead and apply. Because I didn't see it, but everybody kept telling me, you need to apply for a Bush Fellowship. You need to apply year after year. And then I finally did it. I am helping to transform East African communities through the recovery world, leadership in recovery. I became a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. And right now, for my second year, I am doing my master's in advocacy and political leadership at Metro State. So this is all the things that I budgeted for through my Bush Fellowship. Okay, so what is the Bush Fellowship? If you don't know about the Bush Fellowship is a prestigious leadership development program. It is offered by the Bush Foundation, and the whole purpose is to help leaders in in Minnesota and Upper Midwest and surrounding areas like South Dakota, North Dakota, and Michigan. To create lasting change, transformative change in their communities. It helps us to support the fellowship provides access to resources, networks, and financial support to pursue personal and professional development. For me, I am a 2023 Bush Fellow, and for me, it was $100,000 awarded And I used it, you can use the funds for leadership development, educational, go back to school, get that degree that you've always wanted. And maybe because kids and things and, tests and trials kind of came and you weren't able to, this gives you an opportunity to budget for that and to go get your degree. And it lasts 2 years. So I did mine I'm doing it in 2 years. So that is the Bush Fellowship. Okay. Okay, so a little bit of what I focused on was recovery advocacy because I'm so passionate about bridging the gap from treatment to recovery. A lot of people, especially, I mean, in Minnesota, you've heard of the opioid epidemic, and how many people, young people we've lost due to overdoses and fentanyl use coming into our communities. So my whole thing was really wanted to just kind of bridge the gap from treatment, because treatment and recovery are different. Treatment is where individuals get to be in a residential or outpatient program for 60 to 90 days. But then what happens after that individual comes out of treatment? They're going back to the same people, places, and situations. So our hope was to collaborate with other subject matter experts and helping the individual with long-term recovery, because recovery begins at the community level. And our immigrant refugee communities are disproportionately impacted by addiction and mental health. So I'm hoping to, what I've done was strengthening leadership in the field of substance use, particularly for the East African community, culturally responsive support. We really have to meet individuals where they're at. Developing a addiction treatment track that is tailored to East African track amongst Minnesota is also known as the land of 10,000 treatment centers because we just have so many treatment centers, but not enough recovery programs. Community leadership is helping young Farhias in my community and others, just kind of helping them and shaping them into their leadership. I've launched a recovery program called Neo Recovery Initiative in 2021, and it's a recovery community organization. And we're just doing the bare minimum, offering education support, meetings, reducing stigma and shame. And we're also recovering out loud. This here, what I'm doing today is actually me recovering out loud to help build capacity for all of you. Because if you know someone that is struggling with the disease of addiction, then you can reach out to me and say, hey, I have a family member or a friend or someone that I'm working with. How do they get services? And I'm going to be able to help you navigate that. Developing culturally tailored programs for addiction services that are able to reduce stigma and shame. And stigma and shame happens in every community, okay? I want you to know it's sometimes the stigma and the shame. People do not want to get help because of stigma and shame, and they rather die in silence. Like, think about that for a minute. Mentored emerging leaders in the community and provided roadmap for recovery rooted in faith and culture, because it's important to understand that our communities are different. One size fits all model does not work for us. So we have to assimilate we don't have to assimilate, but we need to come with our own traditions and cultures and recover in that way. Okay, so are you thinking about applying? Because I think you should, okay? So this year, the application for 2025 Bush Fellowship opens September 17th, and it closes on October 15th at noon. So, and guess what, y'all? This year, the 2025 Bush Fellowship is award has been increased to $150,000. And instead of awarding 24 fellows, they're doing 30 fellows to be selected. So I think it's just understanding your track record as a leader in your community. What have you been doing? And it's been working for you. And this is actually investing in yourself. The Bush Fellowship doesn't care about fancy projects. They want to make sure that you can be the best leader that you can be for your community, and it has to be transformative. So this year, the focus is on equity and inclusion. The Bush Fellowship for 2025 emphasizes diversity, equity, and inclusion by encouraging leaders from underrepresented, represented, and marginalized communities to apply. And the goal is to foster a more inclusive leadership landscape that reflects the diverse needs of the region. So I know y'all badasses in here, okay? So I want you to really think about, what have you been doing, and is this a good fit for you? Because a lot of the Bush Fellowship and the history of the Bush Foundation and the fellows really has changed in the last 10 years. A lot more people of color have been awarded and been invested in, and they're doing amazing work. So think about it, and now that they've increased the amount, and also selecting 30 people instead of 24, that's a huge win for us. I have a little bit of a video here. Can you hear it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. That is it. I wanted to just show a little bit of a clip over the last year. I didn't know which videos to pick, but wanted to just kind of give you a little bit of a snippets of some of the important moments for me when I went to Washington, D.C. And Amal, I got to walk with Amal. Yeah, it was just so much fun. Mobilized recovery, really representing our immigrant refugee communities on a national level. And what does this all mean? I think it's just opened so many doors for me. I'm able to just tap into this amazing network of Bush Fellows alumni that I'm sort of part of. So yeah, so that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Great. Farhia, thank you so much for coming by and talking to us about the Bush Fellowship. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity. I would encourage others to really take a serious look at it. I know the application process is opening up, I think, next week. And Farhia, I also want to congratulate you on your sobriety. I think that's a wonderful thing, and I'm sure people are very proud of you. I know I am.
Thank you.
In the short time I've
so
known
much.
you, you've been just such an encourager and such a wonderful person promoting sobriety, and I just think that's been wonderful. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. It is also National Recovery Month this year. This month, September, is National Recovery Month. So I know there's a lot of families that are impacted by addiction, and people are also in recovery as well. So if you know someone that is also in recovery, congratulate them and wish them a happy National Recovery Month. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any last questions for Farhia? If not, I'm going to turn to Zainab Meyer from the Minneapolis office. I know Zainab, are you still on the line with us in the meeting? And maybe
Yes,
you can introduce
not
the
all the
next.
Minneapolis people dropped off. I'm still here.
Wonderful. I know Michelle's introduced Zainab several times, and I think she did introduce you at the last forum. But Zainab is also working for the Minneapolis Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. She's a community specialist with the office, and welcome. And I'll turn it over to you to introduce the next speaker.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'll be filling in for Michelle. Please forgive me if I say anything incorrectly, but we're going to switch over to immigration updates and news. Next, we have, is it Camilla? Correct? Is that how I say it?
Hi, it's
Hi,
Camila.
Camilla. Camila, perfect. Thank you so much. From Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, who will be presenting on the new Keeping Families Together public interest parole. As you may know, back in June of this year, the Biden administration announced the new Parole in Place program, and beginning of Monday, August 19th, certain undocumented immigrants were able to apply for parole in place under the new and parole have been able to apply cards without leaving the United States. However, it's been in the news a lot lately, and there's been a lot of updates. So, Camila, please take it away.
Sure. Okay, see if I can figure out how to share my screen. Hold on. Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Great. I'll just
Yeah.
put it into slideshow mode. There we go. Okay. So, yes, this is going to be a brief overview of Keeping Families Together, explanation of what it is, how to apply, and if I haven't gone on too long, maybe some ways to avoid scams. And I'm also going to be talking about some of the updates. So, what does this new process do? It provides a path to permanent residence through something called Parole in Place. So, this program is for certain spouses of U.S. citizens who entered the U.S. without status and have been living in the U.S. for at least 10 years. And typically, people who are in this situation, who are spouses of U.S. citizens and they entered without status, they have to leave the country first to be able to get a visa at the consulate in their home country and then come back to the United States. The problem with this process is that once they leave the U.S., they trigger something called the unlawful presence bar. Basically, it can cause a long period of separation. So the years depend kind of on how long that person's been in the U.S. And there's a workaround that exists right now, but it's a complex, long process. And so Parole in Place is basically a way to fix this issue and to give someone a lawful entry and kind of forgive that first entry without status and let that person do the whole permanent residency process from within the United States and prevent any separation that might have happened. So what people can do now, quick update, like Senab said, the program opened on August 19th, 2024, but there is a federal lawsuit. Many states filed a lawsuit trying to stop this program, trying to stop keeping families together. And so a federal judge paused the program on August 26th, just 1 week after the program had opened. While this lawsuit is happening, USCIS can continue to accept applications and they can give people appointments for fingerprints, but they can't make any decisions. So people can still do stuff now. 3 things we suggest. 1, making sure that you are eligible and consulting an attorney about the risks, especially now that the program is paused. You can gather your documents and file your application if that makes sense for you after you've consulted with an immigration attorney and weighed the positives and negatives. And you can wait for the lawsuit to decide whether the program can continue and keep attending your fingerprint appointment if you do end up applying. So 1, make sure you're eligible. So the eligibility requirements are as follows. You need to be legally married to a U.S. citizen as of June 17th, 2024 or before. So that's the day the program was announced. You need to have entered the United States unlawfully. So that means you didn't come in with a visa. You didn't come in with any sort of status. You need to have been here in the U.S. for 10 years as of June 17th, 2024. So that means you had to have been in the United States since June 17th, 2014. You can't have any disqualifying criminal convictions, and you have to warrant a favorable exercise of discretion. So what kinds of crimes are disqualifying? Well, all felony crimes are disqualifying. So that means any crime where you got a sentence for more than 1 year, you don't qualify for this program. And then there are other types of crimes that even if they weren't felonies, they are still disqualifying, like any gun offenses, any aggravated assaults or crimes involving serious physical or sexual harm, domestic violence, drug crimes, and there's a more complete list of these crimes on the USCIS website. Now, if you have other crimes that don't fall into the categories above, that aren't just minor traffic offenses, those crimes could make it harder for you to qualify, but you can overcome that if you have enough positive factors that you show USCIS. And so let's talk a little bit about these positive factors and the favorable exercise of discretion. So that means basically that in these cases, nobody is guaranteed to get parole in place or keeping families together. It's all weighing the positives and the negatives in your case. And so USCIS looks at each case individually. So some examples of positive factors that you can show is that you have strong community ties, like you volunteer in your community, you've worked for a long time, you've been in the United States for a long, long time. Like some folks have been here since they were just kids, and now they're in their 50s. You have family in the U.S., including being a caregiver to someone who's a U.S. citizen, like a child, a parent, an in-law, or you care for someone who has disabilities. If you've been a victim of a crime or you've suffered certain violations to your civil or labor rights, for example, like you've applied for a U visa or you have labor-based deferred action, those things can be a positive factor. And if you have any negative factors in your case, like some crimes, or if you have a prior removal order, showing evidence of what was going on in your life to help explain what was happening, some things that could mitigate the negative effect of those crimes or removal orders. And then if you can think of any other positive factor. And so what if you have a case in immigration court? Well, you are still eligible to apply for parole in place, even if you are in immigration court. There's no guarantee that your application will be granted. Like I said, there's no guarantee for anyone. But if you are a priority for removal, your application will not be granted. Can you be deported after applying? So it's possible to be placed in removal proceedings, in deportation proceedings. I mean, you have the chance to go to court and fight your case. But if you're not a priority, then it's not, at least right now, it's not as likely that you would be placed into removal proceedings. So what is being a priority? Well, having a criminal history, being a threat to border security, and that means anyone who's entered the United States after November of 2020, or anyone who has helped another person enter the United States illegally. Another priority factor is if you've been involved in any terrorism-related activity. So those are the three kind of categories of what might make somebody a priority for removal and would put you at higher risk of being placed in removal proceedings if you do apply for this program. So anyone who is worried about this, if you have any crimes, if you are in removal or you have been in removal at some point, I highly suggest talking to an immigration lawyer to give you advice about the positives and the negatives of even applying for this program. So step 2 is gathering your documents and filing the application if it makes sense for you. So the documents that you need are identification documents, like a driver's license, a government issued ID like a passport, and it can even be expired documents. Proof of legal marriage to a U.S. citizen on or before June 17th, 2024, so your marriage certificate, and your spouse's U.S. birth certificate or U.S. naturalization certificate, or U.S. passport, any proof that they're a U.S. citizen and proof that you're legally married, and proof of you living in the U.S. since 2014, of June 2014. So you don't need to have something from every day or every month, but USCIS suggests having some kind of document for every year since 2014. That can be proof of car insurance, that could be school records, rent receipts, utilities, money order receipts, a letter from a religious entity like your church, medical records, taxes, bank statements, kids' birth certificates, getting benefits for your kids, lots of different options of things that maybe you have in a drawer somewhere, or maybe you can ask your insurance or your bank for. And then lastly, once you've gathered all these documents, you've talked to an attorney if you need to, then you can file Form I-131F online. So the entire application process happens online, and USCIS will never send you mail about this process, and they will never, they probably won't call you about this process either. So you have to make your own USCIS online account, and you can file either by yourself through your own account or file with the help of an attorney through their account. And then you review and agree. And lastly, what you can do is wait. So like I said, many states, including the state of Texas, filed a lawsuit to try to stop keeping families together. So on August 26th, a federal judge in Texas issued a stay on the program, which basically paused the program while the lawsuit is ongoing. So the pause on the program technically expires on September 23rd. There's going to be a hearing about the case on September 18th, so we might know a little more pretty soon. And it's possible that the pause on the program can be extended. So right now it's supposed to end on September 23rd, but it might keep going. So USCIS has announced that it's going to continue to accept applications while this pause is happening, because the pause only affected their ability to grant to issue any decisions, so to grant parole in place to anyone. So USCIS has affirmatively come out and said, we're going to keep taking applications, we're going to keep scheduling biometrics appointments, so fingerprint appointments, and we're going to keep going with this process so that we're ready if the program opens up again. And so if they're going to be ready, we should be ready too. So you can still apply and you can still go to your fingerprint appointments while you wait for a decision on the lawsuit. And right now it's a pretty uncertain moment for this program, because a lot is being left up to this federal judge in Texas, and you can bet that whatever decision this judge comes out with, it's going to get appealed. So it's going to go to another judge. in the region. And so, you know, immigration programs are very much contested. So it might be a while before we know any result of what's going to happen to this program. And it could also be affected by who becomes the president in November, just because the priorities, this program was created by President Biden through an executive order. And so it's something that could be changed by the president at any time. And so I guess, you know, if we're staying hopeful, what happens if I am granted in parole in place? If they do open up the program and they start giving out parole in place. So you will immediately be eligible to apply for a work permit, and you can file the form to apply and get that work permit. And you will also be eligible to apply for permanent residence, at least theoretically. You might still have to go to an attorney and address any other factors that are at play in your case, like if you have crimes or if you've entered and exited the US multiple times. Some of those things are going to affect your overall eligibility, but it's no longer going to be a problem that you first entered without status. And then I just want to note that this process is also open to stepchildren of US citizens as long as they became stepchildren before June 17th, 2024. So that means they're under the age of 21 and they're unmarried, and their parent, who is a non-citizen, married the US citizen step-parent before June 17th, 2024, and before the child turned 18. So I don't want to take up too much more time, but I just want to let everyone know that there have been a lot of scams around this. So it's really important to watch out for scams. If someone guarantees that they can get you parole in place right now, that is a scam because it's not possible. USCIS is not granting any of these applications. There's no jumping the line. There's no going faster if you pay more money. You simply can't get a decision right now. You should never pay by phone or email. And you shouldn't have to pay a fee to get any forms. These forms are available for free online. I also want to note that notarios públicos, they are in Latin American countries. It means a different thing to be a notario than it means here. A notario here in the United States is not necessarily authorized to give immigration advice or give immigration help. So just watch out for that. You want to make sure that somebody is an attorney or an accredited representative if they are going to help you with this process. And I kind of talked about this. A lot of information is on the USCIS website, and it is possible to look at this website in multiple languages. They have everything in Spanish, and they have a lot of things in other languages. So uscis.gov is the website where you can get information, and the name of the program is called Keeping Families Together. And if you do have any problems, you can report to the Minnesota Attorney General's office, to your local police department, the Federal Trade Commission, or report it to a social media account if that's where the scam came from. And the Attorney General's office recently had a win and got some folks who were victims of some misrepresentations by an attorney. They got some of their money back. So the AG is here for people. And then just to note that not only does USCIS have a website, they also have valid social media accounts. And you can always look for the little checkbox or the check mark next to their name, the USCIS logo, and it's always going to say official account. So I will stop there and go for questions if anyone has them.
Great. Thank you, Camila. Any questions for Camila? So
Yes, Camila,
go ahead.
I have a question. Are you then helping the residents who meet these criterias throughout the application process, or are there others who are doing this work?
That is a great question. Right now, we are working with the city of Minneapolis to try to set up a clinic. So we don't have anything set up yet. We're not taking individual cases at this moment, but we are in talks with our partner organizations and with the cities to try to set something up.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Camila, for joining us and giving us the update. And good to know that applications are still being accepted, but that no action can be taken on them, and that people should talk to either an attorney or a BIA certified accredited rep to file these applications. Thank you. All right, we've reached the point in the agenda where we have additional community and government updates. I know there's several people on. Tia Rosman from Green Card Voices is here. Tia, do you want to jump on and tell us all about your upcoming event for Welcoming Week?
Yes, I would love to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. I parked by the side of the road. So yeah, I sent in some slides because I knew that I'm going to be driving. So if you can pull those up, that would be incredible.
All right. Can you guys see the slides? Can you see Tia's slides? It says welcoming or becoming neighbors.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Go ahead, Tia.
Yeah. So on Tuesday in the evening, we are super excited to have a Welcoming Week event. It is called Becoming Neighbors, and you know, in many ways, it's like our annual event. We used to do an annual gala back in for 11 years in a row, and it happened in May. But we have completely re-envisioned it, so there's going to be absolutely no ask to fundraise. Even the event is completely free, and everything is paid for by our sponsors. We received a very large grant and sponsorship from Minnesota Department of Education, as well as Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield has this huge initiative called Healthy Communities. They understand that isolation and loneliness is the biggest pandemic, and it's especially true for immigrants and refugees. So we're really excited to offer this. We're going to have 200 people, and they are, so far, the people that have registered are already from more than 35 countries, originally from many different continents. So it's going to be a very, very diverse crowd. Next slide. What's really unique about this event is that we are going to be using our award-winning card deck that facilitates very deep, meaningful conversations among very different groups. So when you register, you are asked a few questions that are going to be only, information is only going to be used so that we can really curate a very, very unique opportunity for each and every person. So upon arrival, you're going to be seated at a table of 8, and it's going to be very, very different people from you in terms of your age, background, country of origin, immigration status, profession, and so forth. So for 1 hour and a half, you're going to be playing this game, which is really just sharing life stories and connecting with one another through shared experience. And it has by far been our bestseller. We sold 15,000 decks, and thousands of people have played this. And time again, they say that they're just amazed and at how quickly, in a very short period of time, they connect and learn so much about their neighbors. So warmly welcome. And as I said, we moved this event after 11 years to the welcoming week period because we really want to foster that connectedness and inclusivity. And yeah, we felt our community has now grown so much that it's a perfect time to do it. And then next slide, I just want to mention also in the next slide that we're going to have our whole programming is going to also really champion different immigrants and refugees in our community. So we're going to have performance from Ecuadorian group, and MCs are going to be Hmong and Cameroonian. And then final slide, there's a QR code, so feel free to just hover over this and it's going to take you to the registration link. And if you use code BecomingNeighbors24, it's going to allow you to register for free and attend on Tuesday. It's going to be at the American Swedish Institute in a truly, truly unique event. Finally, I would like to add that Green Card Voices has received the largest grant in the history about 6 months ago from Minnesota Humanities Center, $250,000, and we have partnered with American Ukrainian Community Center in Allied, US, to record Ukrainian newcomer communities and do an exhibit and publish a book. So we have just closed nomination period end of August. We received 35 nominations, and this week actually we'll be selecting 20 newcomer storytellers to do trauma-informed oral history recording with them and then amplify their voices. So working very, very closely with the Ukrainian community these days. Thank you so much for your attention. And I too was a Bush Fellow in 2015 and helped many immigrants and refugees get the fellowship. So also feel free to reach out to me. I put my email in the chat if anyone wants any mentoring or having their application reviewed. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Tia, for joining us, and one wonderful event, and we're looking forward to it, and really appreciate you joining us. And thank you also for the offer for mentoring potential Bush Fellows. So it's nice to see you. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Zainab, I think next is Astrid Linden. Astrid, are you still here? Maybe.
I am. Yes, I am.
Hi, Astrid.
Hi.
Nice,
You'll hear me?
Yes, we can. And you're with Welcome Corp. So tell us a little bit what you're doing.
I am. Yes, I will save you all the slides just so that I can do a little bit more quickly.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Edmundo and Michelle, who's obviously not here. But to introduce myself, so my name is Astrid Linden. I am a community liaison with the Welcome Corps. As Betsy mentioned earlier, there is some familiarity with the Welcome Corps within this group. I would imagine in my role as Welcome Corps community liaison, I am really bringing the work of Welcome Corps and the opportunity of sponsorship to communities to inform through virtual and in-person information sessions, one-on-one conversations, and just really meeting people where they're at, whether those sponsors are wanting to sponsor someone they may know or sponsor someone they don't know. The reason I wanted to come on here as well is because I am based in Minnesota and I am doing this outreach both in English and Spanish, in particular for our Spanish Latin American communities who may want to sponsor and have somebody that qualifies who is either in a safe mobility office or has a pending I-134, I-134A that's been filed on their behalf before September 30th, 2023. So that's for our Did my sound just, sorry,
yes,
my headphones.
you dropped off for a minute.
Okay, sorry. Just saying that the specific outreach I'm doing is for Latin American communities, again, who qualify because of somebody who's in a safe mobility office or has a pending I-134, I-134A that was filed on their behalf before September 30th of 2023. Again, that's for Cubans, Haitian, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. I'm also doing information sessions, community discussions with broader individuals who may want to sponsor and community groups. We, as was mentioned, have one of the leading Welcome Corps sponsorship interests in Minnesota. We have great sponsorship from our Somali, our Oromo, Karen communities, just among a few, but also Minnesotans who are wanting to sponsor individuals they don't know. So it's really become a great part of our Minnesotan culture, as we know. So I will drop my email off in the chat in case anybody, either from a community organization or just your own local community, would be interested in hearing more about the Welcome Corps and opportunities for sponsorship. I'll be at the event this Saturday and next Saturday, tabling in person to share some more opportunities for sponsoring, again, people you know or people you don't know, for our immigrant and diaspora communities in Minnesota. So feel free to reach out to me with any questions or to learn more. And that's all from me. Thank you, Edmundo.
Thank you, Astrid. Thank you for joining us, and looking forward to seeing you this Saturday and the Saturday after at two events that the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul will be hosting for Welcoming Week. All right. Let's see. Eugenia, you've come on. Would you like to give us an update?
Yes, if that's okay. Okay, so
Absolutely.
I'm Eugenia. Yeah. I'm the housing coordinator at a resettlement agency, Minnesota Council of Churches. This is just a heads up and an announcement that we are, us and 3 other resettlement agencies are organizing a renting to refugees like online forum. The importance of this is that we are welcoming, each agency is welcoming with almost 1,000 people next fiscal year, which starts in October. And we have welcomed 950 this fiscal year, which is ending in September. So the need for refugee housing is huge. When people think about refugee housing, they think about subsidized units. We're actually working with market rate housing, and we need more property managers to work with our clients who arrive to the country, are new, so don't necessarily have 3 years of income and rental history in the U.S., but are, perfectly could be great tenants. So I'm putting in the chat here the information about the forum. Could you please spread the word with your networks, because we need collectively to house a couple thousand of our clients who are arriving to the Twin Cities and Minnesota this coming fiscal year. So here it is. Everybody's welcome to attend. It's not just for property managers and owners. Community partners are welcome, and we'll be glad to see everybody there. I'll put my email in the chat too in case you have questions. Edmundo, that's all for my update. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions for either Astrid or Eugenia? If not, is there anyone else on that'd like to give us a community update? This is an opportunity for folks, if you have an update you'd like to give. Zara, I see you coming on camera. Do you want to?
Yeah, hello all.
Hi.
Yep, hello all. I just would like to share about Cappy's Gala. So this gala is not your ordinary gala. We are highlighting artists from immigrants and refugee communities that Cappy partners with. And then we have performance, dance, and songs from 5 different groups. And also, if I'm going to just mention, there isn't a sit-down meal at the event, but there will be egg rolls, spring rolls, and also craft fails that are complimentary for guests. VIP tickets are sold out, and general admission tickets are $35. And the events or the gala is going to be on September 18, 5 p.m. The door is going to be open, and 6 p.m. the show is going to start, and it is at Parkway Theater in Minneapolis. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else have an update they'd like to give? Alyssa, I think you were on. Nope.
Thank you. I was supporting Zara. We're colleagues.
Oh,
so thank you.
okay, great, great. All right. Zainab, maybe you want to give an update on the events in Minneapolis for Welcoming Week?
Yes. So the event that Astrid is going to be at, and a couple of the rest of you will be at in Minneapolis, will be Welcoming Week's Immigration and Resource Fair this Saturday, the 14th, from 1 p.m. to 4.
Oh, we've lost you.
I hit enter and then I got muted. I'm just sharing the link to our website, or your webpage with the Welcoming Week list of events. Yeah, so this one will be the 14th, and then we'll have a Windows event on the 21st.
Great. Yep, we'll be hosting a Naturalization and Immigrant Resource Fair on Saturday, the 21st of September, from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Rice Street Library on Rice Street in St. Paul. We are going to be featuring a welcome wagon that we were awarded from Welcoming America with about 15 children's books, range in age from picture books all the way up to young teenagers. Books. I think the highest reading level is Charlotte's Web is being offered. And we're going to feature a New York Times best-selling author named Bob McKinnon in his book, America Dreaming, as well as other presenters and information about naturalization, asylum. We're also working on possibly having a car seat program that St. Paul's been running through the summer. So people may actually be able to get a new car seat, and we'll have more details on that in the next couple of days. That might be a possibility. I do note that we had Alight. Is anyone on from Alight besides Astrid who wanted to talk about Alight's events this week? I know there's two. If not, I can do a quick rundown. Anyone else on from? Doesn't look like it, but Alight has two events for Welcoming Week. First, they have a sponsorship network evening on September 18th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. It's a modular in-person event designed to meet the prospective sponsors' needs wherever they are on their journey to welcoming. First half hour of the event will be an info session for those new to Welcoming Corps. The next portion of the event will be for connecting with current sponsors, what their experience has been, and what questions to prospective sponsors may want to ask. And we'll post a link in the chat to that to register for that event if people would like to register. The other event is a webinar on September 19th from 8 to 9 a.m. Entitled Changing Minds, Changing Lives, Social Bonds, and Refugee Journey, moderated by Alight U.S. Executive Director Nasra Ismail. We're expecting how existing communities and newcomers benefit from one another, including the labor trends and economic predictions that highlight the importance of welcoming immigrants to Minnesota. And we will put a link to register for that event as well in the chat. Are there any other community updates that people would like to share? Oh, I put this in the chat. Zainab, anything else that you would like to share? Any other updates?
No other updates on my end. Just happy Welcoming Week.
Yes, happy Welcoming Week to everyone. And I will put this information about Alight events in the chat.
I think Astrid put one of the events in the chat.
Oh, okay.
I just put the sponsorship. Yep, I just put the sponsorship events in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Astrid. All right. If there are no other community updates, we can quickly, let's see, give me 1 second here while I find, all right. And as connecting with us and next meeting, our next meeting, I believe, will be October 8th, the second Tuesday of October. We also have Career Force every Wednesday from 2 to 4, where we meet with new arrivals and been able to help them connect to resources here in the Twin Cities. I know that Michelle and the Minneapolis IRA office are also expanding to Mondays from 1 to 4 on Lake Street. So more information and details coming soon. If you have any other updates or questions about Career Force Community Hours, you're welcome to email or text Michelle. Also, Twin Cities Forum, if you have any other ideas for our October meeting, happy to have people reach out to either Michelle, myself, or Zainab, and we'll try to get something on the agenda around those ideas. So thank you everyone else for joining us. I see Michelle just joined us. You're back, and give you a chance to say hello.
I'm so sorry, everybody. But Edmundo and Zainab, you both are the best. Everybody here is also the best. Thank you so much for all that you shared today. I was kind of following along in the chat, even though I wasn't able to be on the meeting. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful start to Welcoming Week. Thanks for all that you shared today, and hope everybody has a wonderful and safe evening. And thank you so much again, Edmundo and Zainab, for pinch hitting, given my tech issues today.
You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and looking forward to Welcoming Week. We're all pretty excited about the events that are upcoming, and hope to see all of you at some of these events. So take care and have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next month. Oh, William's on. William, take care.
You too. Bye
Good
bye.
to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see
All
you
right.
too, and Michelle.
Do you
And
want
everybody
to
else.
make any announcements before we leave?
No, also you are invited to our Welcome in Minnesota Forum on September 18 from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. Everybody who likes to present are welcome, and thank you for this opportunity, Edmundo. But I only like to say hello to everybody.
Thank you. It's really nice to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you,
Un
William.
abrazo. Bye bye.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Take care. Bye bye now.